Goodness knows you've been looking long enough. With the Volvo XC90, you've finally found what you've been looking for. A luxury SUV with seating for up to 7 people and loads of cargo space. Not to mention premium technology, including Google Maps, Google Assistant and Google Play. The Volvo XC90 is what you're looking for. Now at special run-out pricing from $99,990 plus on-roads. Visit Volvo Cars and discover why the XC90 is the vehicle for right now.
You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
This is Weekend Sport on News Talk ZB. We're less than a week away from the start of Super Rugby Pacific 2025. Let's continue our journey around the New Zealand franchises, and we land with the Chiefs.
Josh Ioane to make it 33-29. He steps in. He puts the ball at the post. It's going. It's over! 33-29. And the Chiefs have got there out of nowhere.
Chiefs head coach Clayton McMillan is with us. G'day, Clayton. You wrapped your pre-season with a win over Moana Pasifika yesterday. Did you come through unscathed injury-wise, and did you sort of got what you needed out of these 2 pre-season games?
Yeah, I think so, Piney. It's always our biggest concern, isn't it, coming out of pre-season unscathed. And there was a couple of little wee niggles here and there yesterday, as you would expect, coming out of a pre-season game, but nothing that's going to cause us any concern heading into week 1. All
right, so you arrive at the start line or just out from the start line. How good a shape do you think you're in?
To be perfectly honest, I was hoping for us to take a bigger step forward yesterday than we did. We showed some good signs last week against the Hurricanes, and whilst it was good to get some more minutes into the lads yesterday, and our All Blacks come back and they put in a pretty decent shift in the second half. We didn't quite nail the things I think that we'd worked on in the week, so puts a big focus on this week as we head up to Blues. But from a squad perspective, we know we've got depth, we know we've got quality, and if we just nail the basics well, then we'll give ourselves a decent chance at being there at the end.
So it was the basics yesterday. What were they, the things that you had hoped for better improvement on?
Yeah, I think so, mate. Like our scrum and line out functioned pretty well. Just the basic fundamentals, just your carry clean game, skill execution under pressure, some decision making. Nothing that we can't iron out. Was just disappointing that we didn't take that step forward, I think, from last week. So could sort of sense that amongst the players yesterday. But, a week's a long time in rugby, so as I said, no doubt we'll iron a few things out and be better against the Blues. We'll need to be.
No Wallace Satiti this season. How big a blow is that for you?
Oh, yeah, big blow. He's a very special player, isn't he? He's sort of exploded on the scene last year for the Chiefs and was able to go to another level throughout the international season. He's got a real point of difference around his athleticism and skill. So, we'll miss him, but by the same token, we're really pleased with the depth of our loose forwards. We've got people that can play multiple positions, and it's going to be a real dogfight for the guys that we got to earn an opportunity to play each week. So, yeah, we'll miss him, but life goes on as it always does. Every team, loses players, influential players in their squad, and we're no different.
Just before we move on from him, can you just clarify, did you know that he'd picked up an injury on the All Blacks end of season tour last year? I read some comments from you. Were you fully aware of the injury he'd picked up?
Oh, we're aware. We just probably weren't aware of the extent. I don't think anybody did, to be perfectly fair. He's a pretty tough and resilient young man, so what he presented with was just your sort of normal wear and tear injury. It wasn't until it was scanned that the extent of the injury became truly known, and so it was a surprise to everybody.
All right, we wish him a speedy recovery. Let's look at some of the players you've brought in. Josh Jacobs been in your environment, obviously. He was promoted from the wider training group last year, played 4 games, full-time contract this year. How do you make sure he gets good opportunities, Clayton, when he plays in the same position as Damien McKenzie?
It's a balancing act, but ultimately it comes down to nailing your opportunities when you get them. So nobody in our team has a rite of passage to pulling on the jersey. It's earned through, time in the jersey, what you deliver at training, and ultimately, what you can produce when given an opportunity to get out on the field. So he's a talented young man. He's competitor, and he's certainly not there to just make up the numbers and roll over and give Damien that free ride. So looking forward to that battle. The other person in the mixer is, Caleb Trask, who's had an unfortunate sort of run of injuries. Just welcomed the new baby over the last couple of days. But he's another one who's got, who looked really good, I thought, last year, running the Cardiff for Penny at 10, and he could come into the equation too. So we're blessed in that spot. But it will cause us a few headaches just making sure we get the balance of giving them game time. How
is Damien McKenzie looking?
No, he looked fresh and his normal, usual self yesterday. As did all the All Blacks, I think. They recognise that they've come in, fairly late in the piece. They've only had sort of a week and a half full training, played 40 minutes yesterday, and they could see that, the balance of the rest of the squad have done the hard yards pre-Christmas and post-Christmas, have worked really hard. They're a little bit behind the eight ball, not necessarily in terms of conditioning, but just getting up to speed with some of the adjustments that we've made in our game. And they showed a willingness yesterday to make sure that they're in the mixer come selection for next week.
Do you have a time frame, Clayton, for the return of Samasoni Tokiaho?
He's looking really positive, to be fair. Had a setback early on in his rehab, but he's been really diligent around his rehab. He's progressing really nicely. He's almost back into full training, so we anticipate that sort of around 3 or 4 he could likely return. But of course, it's one of those injuries to a front row that you want to make sure you get 100% right. So if it happens to extend by a week or two, to ensure that he's 100%, then that's what we'll do.
And you and New Zealand Rugby presumably have allowed Sean Stevenson to have a brief sabbatical in Japan. He'll miss the opening 3 weeks of the season. How did you arrive at that decision?
Just common sense prevailed, I think. We were always aware that Sean had an appetite to want to head overseas, if not this year, then next year. So, it wasn't like we were blindsided by it. It was really just that the request came at a very late stage, given an injury or a departure of a player from Kubota, the team that he's gone to. That came through really late, and it's kind of didn't really allow us the time to go and find, a suitable replacement. And so it was never a case of not wanting Shooter to go, but finding a balance between, him going and us being able to find a replacement. And so that part didn't really quite work out, but all parties, New Zealand Rugby included, as said, come to a sensible conclusion that we could accept him going up and dipping his toes in the water and helping out Kubota in their time of need, and then having him come back to us fit, ready to go, and no doubt sort of keen to get that 100-game cap for the Chiefs, which I think he's about 4 games away from achieving. So we've got every confidence he'll come back and just fit in like a glove.
And you look back at the last 2 seasons, you've lost just 8 of your 34 games in the last 2 seasons. Unfortunately, 2 of those were grand finals. So how do you make sure that it's third time lucky in 2025?
Just to be honest around where you're at with your game. We've got no dramas about our squad. We feel like we've got the squad that can take us deep into the competition. Finals show that it's about who can deliver a performance on the day. But some things are slightly different. As you get towards the back end of the season, the game tightens up. The weather starts to come into can come into the equation. So we don't want to change fundamentally how we play Chiefs rugby, which is give the ball some air and have a go and ask our players to be courageous, but also recognise that teams understand what it looks like when we're playing well and how they can impose their game on us to potentially suffocate us, and that means that we've got to evolve and get better and have other games that we can go to when the situation or the moment requires. So that's been our focus, is just around growing our overall game while staying true to our identity.
Wish you all the best for 2025. Clayton, thanks for joining us. Look forward to catching up throughout the season.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Have a great day.
You have a great day too, Clayton. Thanks indeed. Clayton McMillan there, head coach of the Chiefs.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.